All right, let's get started. If you hear a sound that sounds a lot like purring, that's just because there's a cat here in my lap and a kitten, and obviously she belongs there. If you hear the sound of a storm, that's because the UK is currently in a big storm and there's lots of stuff blowing past my window. Welcome to the daily market health statistics for the NFT market by me, Swombat, Daniel Tenner. And let's get started. If you also follow my Twitter, you will have seen that I gave an orange dot to today, or amber, depending on how you call it. And I've done a bit more research since then. I still think that an amber dot is warranted, but let's dive a bit more deeply into why, and why also it may not be warranted based on things that are happening. So if we look at the short-term reports across the 4 indices that we're tracking, we can see that they've all jumped up a bit, some more than others. And so I think as kind of first glance, that seems like possible good news. I mean, if you look at the top 10 there, if you were to apply technical analysis, which again, these are volume graphs and these are one-day moving averages. They're not price charts, so technical analysis is very dubious speculation. But if you were to apply that, then you've got a kind of double bottom here. You've got higher lows happening here in Zeneca Old. You've got also higher lows here in Zeneca New, and even in the women-led projects. So this looks potentially hopeful. Now, the most useful graph for this, I think, right now to understand what's going on is actually the stacked bar charts, which are not very helpful for getting a quick glance of what's happening and spotting trends, but they do tell us with great sensitivity what has just happened. And what's just happened is there is an increase in the last 6 hours in the top 10 volume, but although not a very big one. And if you recall, these bars look a lot bigger than they used to look back when January's bull was still in the chart. So this is not a very substantial increase there. It looks a lot better on the Zeneca Old and the Zeneca New charts, and even on the women-led projects. It's almost a 2x increase on the women-led projects, and it's about 2x on Zeneca New and Zeneca Old. And importantly, very differently from, so like a few days ago we had a few days ago we had this big bump here in Zeneca New, and I remember, like, I actually, hold on, not just in Zeneca New, we had, so we've had these big bumps like here and here, and remember I was saying, well, I'm a bit suspicious of those because it's just one project that happens to be pumping for some reason, and that just lifts the whole index up. That is unlikely to be that sustainable. What I'd rather see is what we're seeing here, which is increases across all the projects. There's a lot of colors there, and a lot of colors taking up a bunch of space. It's not just one project just lifting the whole thing, and same in the Zeneca Old, and also the same in the women-led projects. Here as well, actually, the increase is across the board. Not all projects have increased. Some are very low volume, but it's a reasonably smooth increase. If we look at the longer picture, which is where, you know, even the short-term graphs here give a better longer-term picture than these charts, we can see that maybe, you know, getting really excited about how big this this bar looks here might be a little bit premature, given that when we look at it on so this one. Well, this one actually doesn't look too bad. It sort of like gets back to volumes that we had near the end of January. So that's a reasonably impressive bit of volume here from the Zeneca Old dataset. If we look at the Zeneca New dataset, we can see that, well, you know, it's still nice, but, you know, it's not to the scale that we've seen before. And we'd want to see this sustained before we call a sort of lasting change of trend. But I still do think that no matter whether this lasts or not, the orange or amber dot is warranted, since this is unusual and unexpected and across all the segments that we're looking at. Let's look into a little bit more detail into each of the indices. So we've kind of covered, yes, there's this potential double bottom there. It looks like, if we look at the 90-day chart, it does look like maybe it's kind of found a bottom there and it's going to start going back up, or maybe it's going to go sideways here. If it goes sideways here, well, that's better than going down, but it's not that great either. Like the volume levels here are basically, this is a bear market. Same would be true for the Zeneca old data set. Again, it looks like maybe it's not going down anymore, but we don't know if it's going to go up yet. Obviously, if the volume stays up here, then the market will, the index will go up and the prices will probably start to gently rise. But there's no guarantee that will happen. And we're going to go into the reasons why that spike might be happening in a second. And looking at the Zeneca new data set on the more long-term trend, yeah, it looks like maybe it's reversing. It's certainly looking more hopeful than it was a day ago, where it looked like, so we were, I think, here, and it looked like it had topped and it was going to go down again and just continue the downtrend. It looks like maybe it's not going to continue the downtrend, so that's nice. Finally, the women-led projects index also seems to maybe have bottomed out and found a kind of place to trend sideways, if not up. We'll find out. Now, in terms of the reasons for all this, so if we look at if we look at Bitcoin, we can see that it's looking extremely boring. It had a bit of a drop yesterday, but basically anybody who's holding Bitcoin right now is not feeling overly hopeful that it's going to go parabolic or just make steady gains every day. So that is a context that, as I've said before, could very well lead to NFTs recovering, because when ETH is boring, people prefer to invest the ETH in more interesting things. Whilst when ETH by itself is really interesting and going up like it did over here, then they're more likely to hold on to their ETH and wait to see what happens. So that's kind of the background context there. But there's also some point events that might be leading to these spikes, and it's worth noting them and watching, and so paying attention to the market. We could be seeing a recovery, or there could be a very short-lived event that is not going to last. And one of the things that's been happening over the last couple of days has been the X2Y2 marketplace launching. It had an airdrop, and in my thread I noted that the airdrop happened a couple of days ago, so I didn't think that it would be that likely to cause such a sudden spike. But then the airdrop was frozen for a little while and then was unfrozen a few hours ago. So that could be a reason for this huge spike, as people finally get to cash in their X2Y2, and maybe they're just selling it immediately and buying some NFTs with it. Bearing in mind that in context the volume is not that huge, it could be explained by the X2Y2 airdrop. Another explanation I thought about was the ETH Denver situation, as in the ETH Denver event, where there's a lot of NFT people and Ethereum people gathering in Denver. That could also be leading to increased volumes, but that's been going on for 7 days, so I don't really think so. So will this last? Will this be meaningful? I don't know. Nobody knows. Anybody who says that they know is trying to sell you something or is just a little bit deluded. The reality is there has been that increase in volume over the last 6 hours. we should keep watching this and seeing whether it's sustained in any way, even if it doesn't stay at this level, but it kind of like starts oscillating so progressively higher. So if we see the index starts to go up, or here start to go up. This is not trading view, so I can't draw little things on it, but you get the idea. If this starts trending up, this could be the turnaround point, and it could be that even if the liquidity is due to the X2Y2 airdrop, just seeing prices recover a little bit might give people more hope and interest in buying more NFTs. And the psychology of it could work out as this point event kind of starts a new trend. As I've been saying for a day or two, we are on fairly fertile ground with gas not being extreme and Ethereum and Bitcoin being trending sideways. That is a good place for extra liquidity from X2Y2 to land, and to actually sort of take hold and cause some kind of turnaround in the trend. There are no chats, I think, so no questions today. Remember, if you dial in while I'm broadcasting this and you have some kind of question about the stats or about something else that's going on in NFTs, feel free to dial in or to just type it in the live chat, and I'll do my best to answer them on the spot. We're getting on 12 minutes. That's enough. Have a lovely day, and let's hope the volumes stay up.